everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, we got an interview with a woman by the name of Teresa English, who ran for public office.
It's our continuing series on trying to get atheists, non-believers out there running for office.
Yeah, and so our interview with her talks about like her experience and everything, and she's got some great things to say. So
she's great.
Oh my God,
you guys are going to really love it. It's great,
and that's
and you'll be inspired, and then you'll go and run for office. And I think that's exactly the whole point.
All right. So, well, coming up before all of that, we do have some things happened this week. News.
But before news, I just got to say, our delightful little shindig our New Year's Eve extravaganza.
Yeah,
so much fun.
It was so much fun.
I had a great time.
So much fun, Dan. Obviously, New Year's Eve works really well for something like that. Only during COVID-19.
Only this is the only New Year's Eve
that we
do not expect that to happen ever again, because you'll all be at parties or whatever. We'll be at parties.
Yeah, but we're gonna find another moment when we can. We'll have something big like that again.
Yeah, we'll put together.
It was too much fun to not do it again.
It was great, and thanks for everybody. To everyone who joined us, and thanks for all of the kind feedback that we've received, and we're just pleased as punch about the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now that we've gotten that out of the way, quick, Frank, depress us with news stories.
Oh, Dan,
yeah,
I got a survey. I have a survey that is bumming me out, Dan.
Oh no, you love surveys.
I love surveys, and this one. All right, this is over in the UK.
Yeah,
they're doing the same thing we do. We look at our Gen Zers, and we're like, "What the hell is going on with you guys?"
Yeah,
right. Just like we were doing with the millennials. I think we have the millennials figured out now. We like them. I think we've decided we like millennials. We're still not sure about Gen Z, and.
Yeah, they seem like they're pretty fired up.
Yeah,
I'm liking them.
They're okay. But jury's still out. And here's some details that might have at least our British listeners a little bummed. The survey has found that older adolescents and young adults who belong to that cohort called Generation Z are more likely to believe in God than are millennials.
Ew.
Yeah, gross. What is going on?
Who is raising these people?
Gen Xers.
Yeah, it's us. It's our fault.
We're screwing up somehow. Oh no. The survey was conducted in late November and found that 23% of Britons aged 16 to 24 said they believe in God, with an additional 13% saying they believe in a higher spiritual power. Now, to compare that to, that older cohort called millennials, who are up to 25 to 39 now.
I know.
Dan, can you believe that?
As of this year, we're going to have 40-year-old millennials.
I don't know how that's possible. Anyway, compared to that 23% saying they believe in God, only 19% of millennials do. And as far as like the believing in a higher power thing, that's 16% compared to the 13% of Gen Z. So a little shift there in the numbers, a little bit more confident, right, in the belief in God. And then this compares to the general British population of which has 27% saying they believe in God. Can you believe that?
Only 27%?
Can you fucking believe that? I mean, clearly they're doing something right over there, but guys, you got to get these Gen Zers in line.
Oh, they'll come in line. They'll be fine. They just got to, they're in their experimental phase now. They're just,
Is that what happens when a society turns atheist? That
it's the religious
the children
equivalent
dabble?
to It's the religious equivalent to I was a lesbian for a minute in college. It's...
I dabbled in Presbyterianism.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what is really interesting is that they were able to compare these numbers to the same generation back in January. They did a similar survey.
Oh, yeah.
And the belief in God has gone up this year. Over the course of the year, right? And so they're looking at it and they're like, is this, and they don't know. They're asking the question, did the pandemic do something to these kids? Right? Did it do something? Did it warp this generation somehow to where they're believing in a higher power over just the course of a year? We're having more people say they believe in God.
You know what it was?
What is it?
It was Brexit. It Brexited them into the churches. I don't know. Anyway,
the influence of secular Europe is waning.
That's right. All of those evil French and Belgian influences are wearing off now. All right. Well, speaking of European influences, I am going to talk about a Catholic bishop, sort of the top Catholic bishop of Germany.
Oh,
he's the president of the German National Conference on Catholic Prelates, and he gave an interview to a news service in a German magazine, and basically had some pretty impressive things to say. Here's the thing. What you need to remember is that even though they try not to, religious organizations like the Catholic Church do still exist within modern society. And somehow they really try not to remember that. But this guy seems to have seen the writing on the wall. This is a guy named Georg Betzing. And he said he's noticed a few trends and is a little concerned. And he's basically saying that there are problems with the church's view on homosexuality and on women not being allowed to be to get the priesthood.
The problem is they're not strict enough.
Right. No, that's that. I can think of other German Catholics that would say that, but no, not this one. He hasn't presented any solutions to the problem.
Oh,
but he has he's basically saying that it's time for the church to start maybe coming into the 20th. He's not saying 21st, but the 20th century at least. And maybe wise up to the fact that, gay people... First of all, when your entire clergy, when 70% of your clergy is gay, and and everybody's still pretending that being gay is just a quote-unquote disordered behavior or whatever, you may need to be a little more honest with yourselves.
Yeah. Well, admitting that you have a problem is like the first step, right? Like you have to discover... You don't have to have a solution, but you need to see that there's a problem. So
yeah. I mean,
I hope that spreads.
It's a small thing. He's just one guy, but he's an important guy. And now he'll never get to be a cardinal because he said this stuff.
He knew he didn't have a chance already.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, he wouldn't have said it.
He was passed over 2 times, and then he was like, "Fine, I'm coming out in favor of queers. What do you think of that?"
It's a risky gambit. Let's see how it plays for him.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. Well, I kind of have a people doing the right thing story as well.
Oh,
kind of.
Well, it is just a sunny day for us all.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it's about people doing the wrong thing, but at least there are some people who did the right thing, and those people are officials from the state of New Mexico who have fined 2 megachurches $10,000 each for their Christmas Eve services last
Religious
week.
oppression!
I know. The Legacy Church and Calvary Church in Albuquerque, New Mexico, both had packed Christmas Eve services.
You fucking assholes.
And they were posting on social media, and so there's like tons of fucking evidence. And the state was just like, fuck no. New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham condemned the churches with her spokesperson saying they violated the state public health order and common sense. These two churches and their leaders endangered the lives, livelihoods, and health of not only their parishioners, but their entire communities. Yes, that is correct. However,
I'm just glad they're actually saying it in no uncertain terms. They're not like hedging or hemming and hawing about it.
Yeah, exactly. However, these churches are, how can you say this about us? Legacy Church said that state officials overstepped their constitutional authority.
Of course
we're countering what we are called to do by God to do. It's tragic.
You're not called by God to expose your parishioners to a disease that could kill them.
Dan, see, that's where you go wrong. They continue with their statement. It says, it's tragic that what we do for thousands of shut-ins, those in despair, and kids who go without meals get no state notice. But fixation on one service can net us large fines, they say.
Yeah. That was the service that you did the criminal activity in.
It doesn't exactly. All those days you didn't, kill someone. It takes just one time.
It's like crying to a cop about, what about yesterday when I wasn't stealing a car? Where were you then to appreciate me?
Right. Calvary Church also has a lot to say in this. They say that for these congregants, the risks of a complete lockdown to their spiritual, mental, and emotional health are equal to or greater than the risk of COVID-19 for their physical health. God, the fact they just are so selfish and they just don't get it. They keep framing it as this personal right that's being infringed upon and not the fact that they are creating a public health risk for everyone around them. But anyway, they continue. It is for this reason and others that we believe a healthy local church is an essential operation of a healthy community. Fuck you.
Here's the thing. I honestly think that there is a point to be made, and that there's a gap in our conversation about COVID when it comes to people's mental health. Because we have not been talking about that the way we needed to. We have not, it's something that does need to be tended to.
Yeah.
Because people are really struggling.
Yeah.
But you know what's not going to help? Killing some of them.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
So, all right. Dumb. And I'm going to get even dumber. I'm just going to go next door from New Mexico to Arizona.
Yeah. There was no really good option between the two next doors.
Right, yeah.
There's no dumber. It could have been either direction.
I could have gone to Mexico. That would have been nice. But no. Arizona, where I think there was... I couldn't find it specifically, but I think that, like some other states, there was an amnesty or a suspension of the statute of limitation for people who wanted to sue for adults who wanted to sue about childhood sexual abuse.
Yeah.
And so right at the end of the year, on Monday, December 28th, a bunch of lawsuits were filed against the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, specifically because to do with the Boy Scouts of America. Now, people who weren't raised like you and I in the Mormon Church may not understand how closely tied together these organizations were.
Yeah.
But literally, there was no separation in my life.
No,
The Boy Scout troop that I went to was comprised entirely of boys in my church ward.
Right.
That's the parish. And the Boy Scout leaders were church callings.
Yeah.
So, like, literally, my dad was a Webelos leader for a long time, and that was his church calling. That was not him just choosing to volunteer for the Boy Scouts, for the Cub Scouts, because he liked it, which he did, but that's not why.
Right.
So, with that backdrop painted...
I will say this, though. This Scoutmaster was usually an obvious choice. Right. Like,
it was
clear
somebody
who in the ward was going to be a Scoutmaster.
Right. Or
usually was
more
a
to the point.
Yeah.
More to the point, it was clear who wouldn't be a Scoutmaster. But what wasn't clear, what wasn't always obvious, was that some of these people who were Scoutmasters were interested in it for nefarious reasons. And there was sexual abuse in these things. And that, that's one thing. But these lawsuits allege that the church would continually practice covering it up. So someone would go to their local bishop, who, again, in Mormonism is just a lay person who's been called to be the parish priest for a period of time. So they don't really know what to do, but they do have a handbook. Anyway, they'd go to the bishop and say, hey, this happened. I was sexually abused, or my child was sexually abused by this guy.
Yeah.
But then the bishop would say, hey, keep it on the down low while we conduct an internal investigation.
Right.
The scout leader would be left in place to continue doing whatever he's going to do, and it would all get swept under the rug.
Yeah, I believe that.
I 100% believe that.
I
know. Matter of fact, I know people to whom this has happened.
Seriously,
so, of course it's true. Now, the church, for their part, say, quote, the claim that the church has had that's not. There's this whole thing about access to ineligible volunteer files, which they're claiming they didn't have access to, which I don't know about that. But they are saying that they would never tolerate any kind of abuse of kids. And I'm like, well, unless you look at all of the things, look at all of the evidence, because we have reported many times when the church has just blatantly ignored or swept under the rug some pretty awful, heinous stuff. So that's happening.
Well,
I hope.
I'm glad they got the cases filed.
Yeah.
Me too. All right. Well, Dan.
Yes.
I got the story of a former U.S. representative who got into some hot water. Her name was Corrine Brown. Okay. She was, I believe, representative in Florida.
That never goes well. Marco Rubio.
Well, she was convicted back in 2017 for using a charity that she controlled for personal expenses and events. She raised over $833,000 in donations for the group, and used a lot of it apparently for things that weren't sort of in the mission statement of the organization. But nonetheless, like I said, she was convicted, and she's currently, the case is in appeals.
Right.
And the way that her attorneys are arguing this case in appeals has to do with the judge in the original case replacing a juror who they're saying was discriminated against on the basis of religion, and deprived Brown subsequently, of course, because of her constitutional rights.
Right.
So, okay, so let's get into this. Why did the judge dismiss this juror? Oh, it could be that before the jury even started deliberations on the case, the juror admitted that the Holy Spirit had told him that Brown was not guilty of all the charges.
Oh dear.
And
that is the best kind of evidence that you can get.
So, the rest of the jurors, obviously, they went through deliberations and convicted her, found her guilty, because she, probably did all these things. But the good old Holy Spirit said no. My
imaginary friend said she didn't do it, so I get to vote that way.
Right. Not based on any evidence or the facts in the case or anything like that. Well, seems reasonable to me, right, that the judge would be like, you're out of here.
You're done.
However, these federal prosecutors in the case are saying that this juror, who is known as Juror 13, had decided the case based on something other than the evidence, blah, 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 like we were just saying, right?
Right.
And that he had done so without participating in the crucible of deliberation with his fellow jurors. So the issue is not whether jurors can seek or receive spiritual guidance. Of course they can. There's nothing wrong with belief in answered prayers or in answered prayers themselves, the prosecutors wrote. But something
wrong,
is
incorrect.
Sure, right.
But legally speaking,
right.
Okay.
But something is wrong when, as the district court found, the answer comes in a form divorced from the evidence and interferes with the juror's duty to deliberate and decide the defendant's guilt or innocence based on the evidence.
Right.
But her attorneys wrote in response, it is hard to understand the district court's decision as anything other than a holding that relatively abstract religious beliefs are permissible, even useful in assuring that jurors follow their oaths, but more specific religious beliefs, including any notion that the divine could lead a juror to one view of the evidence, are verboten.
Yeah, the whole point is this juror didn't actually consider the evidence.
Right.
That's kind of the whole issue here.
That is actually absolutely, because like, who cares if it's like, obviously they only care because this one person was on their side, right? And so they're having, but like if they were talking about Xenu, right, or if they were talking about like anyone, any imaginary friend other than God, right? They would have absolutely nothing to stand on. Anyway, the case has gotten the attention of attorneys general from a bunch of other states, including Nebraska, Arkansas, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Dakota, and Texas. And considering that list of states, I'm sure that...
Yeah. I can guess which side of this issue they're falling on.
They have filed a friend of the court brief in November supporting Brown and the appeal. This is gross freedom of religion stuff. Like, this is... Oh, this makes me sick to think.
Yeah.
Where this could go. Where this could go if it just gets in front of the wrong judges.
Well, I mean, again, this is a job for the Satanic Temple. This is one of those things where, like, and the thing is that her attorneys, of course, their job is to try and secure a win. Yeah. So. But it does make one wonder if they would try the same tactic if one of the jurors had said, Satan told me that she's innocent.
Well, they probably wouldn't, just because they would know that would not go anywhere, right? That would not the likelihood of that tugging on the right strings, right?
Right. Or Allah would
one wonders, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Would they make the same argument? They might, because she's been convicted and they need a reason for her to be unconvicted.
Yeah.
But man, they would be, I guarantee you that amicus brief would be gone. None of those states would be anywhere near that.
No kidding.
Because they're hypocrites.
Yep.
Anyway, speaking of hypocrisy.
Oh?
Here's an interesting story of a group calling out hypocrisy in a way that I'm not expecting.
Okay.
You had some earlier. I I had some people not, I feel like there's an upswing here. It's 2021. It's a new universe we're living in. I'm just gonna be positive about this whole thing.
All right.
More than 400 students of Liberty University, that bastion of education, Liberty University, Jerry Falwell's big thing, his project, have signed a petition that is asking for the removal of the association of Liberty University with the Falkirk Foundation.
Oh.
Now, for those who don't know, or the Falkirk Center, sorry. For those who don't know, the Falkirk Center was founded this year, last year? I'm not sure. Very recently by Jerry Falwell and Charlie Kirk. Now, do you hear it?
Boy. Yeah, it's
cute. They named it after themselves.
That's cute.
Falkirk. Yeah, they're really... This is Jerry Falwell Jr., by the way, not Senior, who is now the disgraced former president of Liberty U. But the Falkirk Center is still doing well, and it's basically a conservative political think tank. The concept
Light
of
on
thinking might... Yeah. But it's a tank. They got themselves a tank for sure. Anyway, it's basically just been sort of a pro-Trump, just crazy place,
right.
A place of craziness. And these students, like I said, over 400 current and recently graduated students have signed this petition to say, look, this is actually... What little cachet one has from a Liberty University education, this is tarnishing. They said, quote, we want to be known as people who were given an education not only to enter our desired fields, but also to live as people chosen by the Father, united to the Son, and regenerated by the power of the Holy Spirit, not as people who were educated to become champions of Trump and Western civilization in the, quote, cultural battlefield.
Oh, okay.
Which,
okay.
I'm actually, that gives me hope.
Wow.
Like, people are starting to see through the cracks of the Trump cultism. It might be that the veil is kind of being lifted off of the radicalized right to some extent. I don't know how much to hope for.
That's crazy. Because
my optimism is cautious.
Yeah, because if you wind up at Liberty University,
which I will definitely wind up at Liberty.
Okay, if one winds up at Liberty University, right. One would think that one was pretty rabid in their conservatism.
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would just imagine it's just. Like, they have MAGA Hat Wednesday.
Because which academic program attracted them to it, right? Do they have... Is it like BYU that it's like, well, at least the business school is good,
I don't know. I don't know, like, what Liberty University specialties are actually, like, reasonably decent. But I'm genuinely impressed that this is happening. I mean... Yeah, and who knows how much of it is people kind of rolling their eyes about Jerry Falwell Jr. himself and his recent tumble from grace. But there you go. At least that's out there in the world. People deep inside of evangelicalism seeing through the very problematic political associations that they've had for so long.
Yeah.
So there you go, everybody. Hey, if you went to Liberty University and want to tell us what the good school is there,
I would love to hear that.
Please feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around. There is more show coming up. Hey, Dan.
Hey.
Here's a voice that we've unfortunately come to know on the show. One Mr. E.W. Jackson.
Yeah.
Nice guy. He's a nice guy. Don't you think he's...
that rare breed of black pastor who's super into Trump and Trumpism and all of that sort of thing. It's a delightful thing when you get... Look, anyone who's into Trump is joyful. But when you're really into somebody who's very much in favor of your own oppression, that is just perfection. So here's E.W. Jackson talking about our upcoming president and comparing him, which he's not convinced about, by the way. Of course, comparing him to.
I'm not convinced.
Here we go. Oh, who could be convinced at this point? All right, here we go.
When he stood up and said, as according to some at least, I've never called him this, but many are calling him president-elect. This is the first time I've even used those words, believe me, because I don't believe he is. But many do, and many are already submitting it to his authority and believing that this is the next president of the United States. I'm not yet. I'm not convinced. He was pronouncing a curse on this nation. The darkest days of COVID are ahead of us, not behind us. Well, then what's the vaccine all about? What is this stuff? We keep learning more and more about the disease. What is that all about? What are all the lockdowns all about? So what, are we going to be locked down for the next 2 or 3 years or something? I mean, what people don't understand. A leader can either curse or bless that which he leads. And we've had a president for the last 4 years. People can like him. They can say whatever they want to say. For the last 4 years, and I'm not talking about what he said about other people and to other people and all that. For the last 4 years, President Donald J. Trump has blessed America. I love America, he says. I love our country. It's a beautiful country. We're going to make America great again. We're going to put America first. America is going to succeed. America is going to grow. America is going to thrive. America is going to prosper. He has blessed this country for the last 4 years. The words of his mouth have been blessing. And Joe Biden is not even in office yet, and he's already pronouncing curses on our country.
When
I don't know what to say. Like,
it's just I'm tired. You know what I mean? I am just tired of all of this nonsense. Where it's like he literally picks the one quote that he can find by Joe Biden that sounds negative, which is absolutely true, by the way, that there is that, like, when he said it, he was talking about we're entering into what is already currently now the worst moment in the COVID thing.
Under Trump, by the way, EW.
Yeah.
Like, how do you think we got here, with this guy who's blessing us so much? Huh.
Right. Although I will say this about E.W. Jackson. He is correct in that if you ignore all of the things that Donald Trump has done that's bad, you know how he said, like, I'm not talking about the things he said about the people or, all that sort of thing. If you ignore everything that's shitty about that guy.
Oh, he's a great guy.
He has said some nice things like, I love America. He has said that. You have to script it. You have to put it on his teleprompter, but he will say it. Oh, my God.
How
these people.
How have we gotten to this point, Dan?
Oh, we're almost there. You know what? It's 2021. It's a new lease on life. Everything's great now. Everything's good now. It's all uphill from here.
I don't know.
We bottomed out, and now it's just whoosh.
I don't know, Dan. So far, the beginning of this year is a lot like the end of last year. I'm just gonna say it. Like, I'm sorely disappointed. I had all my hopes riding on it just being better,
instantly better,
and it's not.
Oh, that is a disappointment. That is rough.
So far, I have to say, and maybe I'm coming at this a little too soon. I haven't really given the year a chance yet.
Yeah, it does feel like
have
maybe
a more open mind. I'm not convinced. That's all I'm saying.
Give it a full 24 hours before you make that call. All right. We had some folks write into us, call into us. So let's start with Allison writing to us from Des Moines, who says, "Hi, Frank and Dan. Your segment about the COVID vaccine really resonated with me. Today is my 3-year anniversary of becoming vegan. I research before I buy any new products because as a vegan, I will do everything as far as practically possible to avoid animal exploitation and cruelty. That said, I will be taking this vaccine as soon as possible, and I don't personally know any vegans that won't be. Medicine is different. When there's an option, I go for the one without animal products, but I never skip any vaccination or medicine that my doctor recommends.
Yeah.
Religion is so broken. Usually I feel sorry for people when their religion makes their lives worse, but this is hurting all of us. The thought that people are skipping this vaccine over God makes me so angry."
Same here.
She concludes with, "Anyway, thank you so much for the show and the community you built. Your voices are appreciated." Well, thank you very much, Allison. Do we have a voicemail? Do we not?
We do. Mark, who he found himself at church on
Lord,
on
Mark.
New Year's
No,
Eve.
why?
And this is his story.
Hi, Frank and Dan. This is Mark. I've called a couple times. I'm not exactly an out atheist, so I ended up getting reeled into the position of having to attend a New Year's Eve church service with my parents. Now, they know I'm not attending church or anything like that, but, I mean, my family situation is a little kind of screwed up anyways, so this was kind of a unneutral way of doing things. But when I got there, holy crap, the precautions were not exactly perfect. There was a sign that said face masks are encouraged with 5 masks on a table. And as I looked around the building, nobody was wearing a mask. In fact, those who were wearing masks mostly had their masks underneath their noses. But I don't know if I've ever heard a less muscular statement. Face masks are encouraged. And the pastor, when he got up on the stage, he was wearing one of those glasses, like face shield type things, and he said, "Okay, let me take the stupid thing off now." And everyone laughed because, haha, so funny. It's not like this is a serious thing or anything like that. And it was infuriating. I was just sitting there with my mask on, getting looks like, what is this guy doing? And it was a terrible experience. Not only did I have to listen to the church music, I had to listen to the pastor drone on, and then watch people not wear masks. So hopefully I'm not sick in 2 weeks. Anyways, decided to give you a call. Have a great week, guys. Bye.
Oh, Mark.
Wearing a mask like a doofus. When in Rome, Mark. Come on, man. Just take off the mask.
Oh God, yeah. I feel you,
leave.
man.
Everybody, if you're in this situation, just leave. You don't have to come out as atheist, but I mean,
wouldn't I felt unsafe be a good thing to say? I don't know. Mark,
I mean, I get it.
You.
I mean, how safe? How much safer can you be when I assume you live with your parents? So if they go and come home with it, you're exposed anyway. But
yeah, I hope you're good in 2 weeks, man.
It's just so infuriating. It's just, but although I will say, what a hilarious joke that pastor made, that priest made.
He's got a future in comedy. That one.
Oh my God, just so funny. Just so great, you guys.
Gotta get this stupid thing off. He knows how to play to his audience. That's good.
Yeah.
He knows.
Literally, do you know what I just can't imagine people looking back in history and going, oh, look, they did know how to slow down this pandemic, and half of them didn't want to do it.
Dan,
what are you talking about?
It's something in this nation's DNA. I mean, have you... With the Spanish flu, it was the same thing. The anti-mask guild or whatever it was, right? There were anti-maskers back then. They knew that masks helped. 100 years ago, they knew.
People,
We've made
people
no progress, not as a society, right? Like we haven't grown in 100 years to be more altruistic in our thinking, right?
Well, because we can get smarter, we can understand things, like the breadth of human understanding can grow, but that doesn't like make anybody's individual brain any smarter.
No, yeah.
That doesn't make them any better at, making good decisions. Anyway, and by the way, everybody, just as a public service announcement, if your mask is below your nose, you're not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Just so you know, you're not wearing the mask. So if it's below your nose, pull it up. Cover your nose. Otherwise, you're not actually doing it, and you might as well just take it off.
Yeah. Also, the one where it's just on your chin. That does nothing.
Yeah. Well,
literally, I don't even know how you could think it's doing something. Like, I can see why you think maybe just your mouth covered. You're probably right about that. But
yeah. Anyway, cover your nose and your mouth with your mask. Wear your mask. Sasha and Sherry wrote into us.
Nice.
Hi, guys. We're currently enjoying. They were writing while enjoying the New Year's Eve live stream.
Wow.
And just want to say a huge thank you to you both, as well as all the guests who have appeared on the fun show. As former born in Jehovah's Witnesses, your podcast and those of the guests you had on have literally been a lifeline during our awakening and exit from our cult. Thank you for helping us reclaim our lives and live our happy, authentic selves. We're also volunteer workers with the RFR, which is the recovering from religion.
Fantastic.
So it was amazing to see Dr. Darrell on the show too. Thanks again, guys. It's a privilege to be supporters of the work you do. Happy New Year from Sydney, Australia. Amazing.
That's fantastic.
And again,
so cool.
Again, if you missed the live stream, you missed something. It was good.
They got to watch the show during the day in Australia. I am jealous.
Yeah.
Like next year we should do it from Australia.
Yes.
So that but do the same time zones we just did now. So we don't.
There you go.
So we can like get to bed at a decent hour and all that stuff. But oh my God, that was fun, Dan.
I continually try to reach out to our Australian listeners and say, look, put together some funds and bring us out there.
We'll,
not right now.
Normally,
obviously.
I'd be immediately on the plane, but
you actually had to cancel a trip to Australia because of this fucking pandemic.
We were 2 weeks away from our vacation in Australia when COVID hit. When the international lockdown happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking bummer. So disappointing.
Not great.
Anyway,
not great.
Well, Dan, we have people to thank, right?
We do have some people to thank. I'll start us off. First of all, Veronica gave us both a one-time donation, which is very generous, and then also signed up to do a monthly donation.
Oh my God.
Veronica, thank you so
That's
much.
awesome.
I hope you intended to do both of those things because you did it. So, Veronica, I officially welcome you into the Melchizedek priesthood.
Oh, which office?
Let's make her a priest.
Nope, wrong. You got it all confused there. Melchizedek is the elders' high priest.
I know.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm not even thinking. And look, we did a long live stream yesterday. I'm amazed my brain works at all. You're an elder. We're going to make you an elder, Veronica. Hooray
Fantastic.
for you.
Congratulations.
And then also, Donna, thank you so much for your one-time
Donna,
donation. We'll make Donna a priest.
Nice.
You're a priest, Donna.
That's wonderful. Welcome to the fold. And over on Patreon, Dan, we have... I'm just going to go with S to thank. And S is a new deacon. So thank you so much for signing up. You know what all these people did is they went to thankgodimatheist.com and clicked on the support tab, and it took them to the option that suited them the most, PayPal or Patreon. And so we thank you so much. And then, of course, as always, Dan, we have our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Dennis.
You guys are amazing.
Hey, Dan.
Hey.
We have a guest that's going to be coming on in just a second.
Thank God, because we are awful. So having someone else on is always a treat.
Her name is Teresa English, and she's actually she ran for state rep in the state of Massachusetts this last election.
That's
season.
one of the good states. I don't know. That's an arbitrary appraisal.
And she actually reached out to us and said, "Hey, I would love to come on the show and talk about my experience, and kind of talk about resources that I know about, as part of our push to try to get people to, listeners and atheists in general, to just get out and run for something, like run for office.
Teresa English.
Yeah,
welcome to the show.
Thank you both for having me. This is wonderful to be able to talk to you guys and hopefully encourage other people to do great things.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm just going to assume that it was not us that inspired you to run for office because we came in too late. But tell us about.
I will say that I have been listening to the two of you for years, and running for office is something I only did this year. So, I mean, if you want some credit, go for it. There's plenty of credit.
We'll take it. Whatever we can get. So tell us about your experience and why you decided to run for office and what happened.
Sure. So I am an introvert normally, but I have strong ideas and passions. And I live in, as you said, one of the good states. I live here, so I can totally say that. And there are people that want to remove freedoms that we've been fighting for. Abortion access is one thing that there has been a move to limit in Massachusetts. And we collectively have said, no, thank you. The person that is my state representative in my local district is a troll. He's awful. And he has scared a lot of people into not running against him. And after COVID and the pandemic and everything, I just said, what do I have to lose? And I jumped in the race. I was the only person. And it seemed like the scariest thing I could have ever possibly have done, but it turned out not to be as awful as I thought it might be.
Well, not awful is great. What a ringing endorsement.
That doesn't sound very enthusiastic, does it? But it's, so I'm probably one of the last people that would have ever run for office. I don't like being in front of people. I don't like crowds. But I do enjoy making a difference and talking to people one-on-one and listening to the stories of people that are your neighbors and whose lives you could benefit by being a person that is putting forth good legislation instead of legislation that is actually harming us, right? Yeah. We have this idea of politicians as someone that is super smart and has the right pedigree and knows what they're talking about. And the truth of the matter is the people that are elected, they're most of the time, they don't deserve to be there.
Yeah.
Your listeners, most of them are way better than our current leaders.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
I 100% believe that, and you included. I don't know you at all, and I assume that if you were just to be thrown in knowing nothing about the job, you could do better than Mitch McConnell. You would be better.
Yeah.
So
yeah, except I actually reached out to the librarians and said, "Hey, here's this job I'm thinking about doing. What exactly is a state representative?" Because I had no clue.
Yeah. So wow. What is it? I mean, first of all, wait, you said you went to librarians for this?
I did, because that's the kind of nerd I am.
No, I love it. That's so smart. You actually just did research like old school style.
Right. Well, I figured the librarians would know where to start. I didn't know where to start.
Yeah.
I typed in what is a state representative in Google, and I did not get good answers.
Okay. But did the librarians come through?
The librarians were very helpful, yes. They sent me to the state archives, and then they gave me a phone number for the State House librarian, who would have been a great resource if not for COVID.
Oh, right.
But it turns out I did things way more difficult than I had to, because this is one of the resources. It's called, if you go to your computer and you type in traindemocrats.org, the National Democratic Training Committee has done all of that work for all of us.
Oh, I love it.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
And it's all free. They do in-person training, online training. If you don't want to, like, if you're more of a loner, kind of like I am, there's lots of videos you can watch and blogs to read.
So what kind of things did you learn about running for office going through this process?
Yeah, so one of the things that I had no clue about was even how to be a candidate, right? Yeah. I know how to be myself, but getting out in front of people and learning like how to do a mailer, how to ask people for money.
Yeah.
Even what a campaign manager is and whether or not you need one. Like the gap of knowledge that I had back in March and June, because I actually announced in July, so it was a really short campaign.
Yeah, that did not give you much time.
It did not.
Not in American terms, anyway. There are other countries where that's plenty, but...
Right. I think it was plenty. There are already people talking about the 2022 cycle, and that is too far away.
Yeah.
But so for me, the gaps of knowledge I had were really big. But for some people, they might already have a network of friends and family where they live. And a lot of it is just simple conversations. Contacting the person, with your kid's PTO group and saying, hey, I'm thinking about running for office. What do you think? And getting that feedback was really valuable in the beginning, because I thought it was a crazy idea. But the more people I talked to, the more they were like, yeah, I can see you being a leader. I can absolutely get behind your campaign. And by the time it was, by election night, I had hundreds of volunteers and a really good staff, and I got, a lot of votes. And it was one of the best things I've ever done.
That's got to be gratifying to just to have put together in just a few months a coalition like that, to have gotten that kind of support. Is this something you're going to pursue going forward?
I don't know. We'll see. I'm not ruling anything out, but I'm kind of focused on a little TV show that a friend and I are working on for our local television station, and focusing more on our local politics. We've got a big local election coming in April that is going to determine the future of my town, which is a really scary election coming up. So between now and April, that's my focus, and anything else we'll see after that.
Okay. Well, I love that. I mean, but it sounds like you're staying politically active is very important on your schedule.
Absolutely. So much of everything that we do, like even the ability to be talking to one another through, the internet, all of that is controlled by our laws. And our laws are determined by the people that we elect to these offices. So I support broadband access for my community and across the country. Rural access to broadband is really one of the impediments to democracy. And so access to broadband for rural communities cannot happen unless we elect people that want it to happen. And so that's why I will remain politically active, and whether I'm running for office or whether I'm supporting friends or family or good candidates, I'm not going anywhere.
I love it. So Okay, I want to paint a picture for us of life on the ground, trying to get trying to engage voters to vote for you. How did that play out? What did it feel like? What did it look like?
So it was a roller coaster. I would go from one conversation where I would talk to someone about how they were losing their housing benefits, and I would talk to them and help them get the right connections to solve problems, and it would feel really great and powerful. And then the very next conversation would be someone who's convinced that I support murdering newborns.
Oh, yeah.
And then the very next conversation would be about, I love your signs. Can I get 10 more to give to my friends and family? It was just the constant up and down, and it was exhilarating. And the trust that people placed in me with their stories and with their experiences and the things that they wanted to change, that meant a lot. And it also demonstrates how much further we have to go as a society. America was founded on such great ideals, and I'm a history teacher, so I teach those to my students. And then when I'm on the ground and I was campaigning and talking to residents of my town, we have a lot more work to do. And that's what I'm excited about for 2021, to bring it back around to, it's New Year's, is 2020 exposed a lot of our failings as a society. And I'm really hopeful that 2021 is when we can look back and say, there was a lot broken, but we came together as a community and we fixed it. That's my hope. And so that's why I hope other people will take up the mantle and run for office and be agents of change.
Yeah. We definitely need this. I don't know about your neck of the woods, but here in Salt Lake City, I don't know if you've heard of this. There's this group called the Mormons. They're this little upstart group.
Yeah. I dated a few Mormons in high school.
Oh, really?
A bunch where I grew up.
Okay.
Really?
But yeah, we're in a very conservative state, and one that is just shy of a theocracy. I mean, basically,
right.
there is this one organization where if they say jump, the entire state legislature just says how high. So right. It's really important to us to have more visible atheists and non-theists out there running for office. Were you openly non-theistic as you ran for your office? Did religious issues come up? How did you deal with that?
Person asked.
Okay.
Since moving to Massachusetts, I have been openly an atheist. We left Georgia. Our friends and family knew, but it's not exactly something I went around, saying out loud in Georgia.
Right.
But once we moved up here, I was like, I don't care.
And neither does anyone else.
And neither does anyone else. That's the thing. We are a member of what the locals call the hippie church. But it's a Unitarian Universalist church.
Sure.
That there's no religion. Right. Around Christmas time, things get a little Christian-y, but that's about it. So that provided some cover for anyone that might have asked. But no one asked, and I would have been 100% honest if anyone had asked.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's wonderful that you're out there fighting this good fight, and it sounds like, because I'll be honest with you, when I imagine campaigning, when I imagine going out there and trying to become a politician to join that fray, it sounds exhausting. It sounds like there's just so much work to be done, never enough hours in the day. Like, I just imagine being wiped out. But what I don't imagine is the exhilaration that you're describing.
And I think if you're not getting the exhilaration, then maybe you're not doing it right.
I love that thought.
So my inspirations were people like Andrew Yang, Stacey Abrams, people who have fun and remain authentic to themselves while they're campaigning. And that's a lot of what we did. I stayed away from doing the types of events or fundraisers that I would have been bored to tears at, because it would have been obvious, you know. And if I don't want to be there, how can I convince anyone else?
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that. It's because the product is you that you're selling, you got to be you.
Right.
That authenticity. First of all, it's so rare in politics. Everybody's trying to be what they think everybody wants them to be. So what a refreshing thing it must have been for people to go to your events and just meet a real person.
Yeah. And it's felt so strange to be, to get praise for being a real person when you're just being a real person. That was one of the strangest things. It felt like I got an award every time I woke up.
Wow. Now you're talking me into this thing. I'm liking it.
Well, if you are prone to having a big ego, like, I see the appeal. My self-esteem was never higher than on election day.
Oh, wow. And you say that, but you didn't win your election.
That is true.
Is that right?
I did not win my election. However, I came closer to winning this election for a Democrat than ever before.
Oh, I love it.
I met thousands of new people that now know my name and know that there is someone in our town that is standing up to this group that has taken over. And a lot of people are coming out of the woodworks and saying, how can I get involved? Because I'm in Massachusetts, but this is a really conservative town that I'm living in. And it would fit in many other parts of the country. But there's a lot of progressives and a lot of people who want for our community and our nation to be better, but are afraid to stand up and to speak out.
Yeah.
Well, I just think I think it's great. I think if you can walk away from from an election where you didn't even win, but walk away feeling that good about yourself and about what you achieved, I think that's the inspiration that we need. I think that's, like, we don't need to win all of the elections. We just need to be fighting the good fight.
Yeah.
Right. It should be more about the fight than the end result is important. But if you are if you only try to win the fights that you can win, you're not fighting for anything.
Well, and in the meantime, and like you say, in the meantime, you're galvanizing a whole bunch of people who didn't have anything to rally around. You're raising the level of the discussion in your area. You're achieving all of these different things which have nothing to do with whether or not you go to the State House the next year.
Right. That is it exactly.
I think that's
awesome.
Amazing.
That's
and I
really
think
cool.
that I'm guessing that there are people listening right now who are perking up because of your story.
I absolutely agree.
I really hope so.
Yeah.
Well,
Teresa, you mentioned the National Democratic Training Committee earlier. What are some other resources that you found along the way that were helpful?
Yeah. So if you are under 35, there are some organizations that are focused on helping young people who are interested in politics get started in their local levels. And then there's Run for Something, which is an organization helping first-time candidates.
Awesome.
And if you're female, there's also Emerge, which is an organization of women. It's like a networking and helping you grow as a candidate.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Teresa
and all
English
of those are, available for everyone on the internet.
That's great.
What an amazing thing this internet is. I'm going to have to get me that.
Amazing. I love it.
I'm going to have to get some of that sometime. Teresa, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and keep us up to date with what you're out there doing in the world.
Yeah, yes, please.
Absolutely. Thank you both for having me on.
If you would like to tell us about your exploits in the political realm, please write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call us and tell us about it. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, hey, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
And you can also, on Facebook, sign up for the TGIA Members Only Lounge. The best way to find it is to go to thankgodimatheist.com/members only.
Yeah.
Also find us on Twitter @TGIAtheist.
Lots of twittering happening. Thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their fine music.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thanks to all of you, dear friends, for tuning in.
Bye-bye.